Hey everyone, Connor Shelton from Remax Real Estate Kamloops, and here is your June real estate statistics. So let's dive right into it. We've been having great months coming here. This is definitely the hottest market we've seen in a long time. Um, right out of the gate, we've seen 7.3 months of inventory, so we're seeing it dropping again. Not as low as what we saw it in kind of December, January, because that's when we had a lack of inventory and increased sales. But again, we're still seeing a very increased amount of sales with inventory staying the same. So if we jump into the median sale price here, the median sale price rose 1.2% month to month from May to June to 410,000. So that's fantastic. And we also saw the same for year to year. Quite a big jump. We saw a 7.8% jump from 380,000 to 410 for the median sale price. So huge increases there because we're having more sales, higher number of sales, and that lack of inventory in the market is really putting some pressure on the market. And it's been great. It's definitely a great time to sell your house, to get into that bigger house or to get that smaller house, get the most money you can out of your property, or to get into the market because who knows, if you're in that property for 3 years, say it's appreciating by 5% each year, um, you're making quite a good amount on your property there in appreciation. Average sale price has actually gone down just a little bit, but this is why I always compare the average and the median. Again, because the median is assembling them from lowest to highest, picking the one in the middle, and average is taking all the sale values, adding them up, and then dividing them the number of sales we've had. So from June 16 to May, we actually went down a little bit from 352 in May to 339, so down a little bit. But year to year, we've seen it come up. So for June 15, we were at 318, and then we came up 6.6% to 339. So on a year-to-year basis, we're definitely doing a lot better. The market's a lot hotter. People are snatching up properties. And as you can see in the next slide here, from May to June, we've had a 3.1% decrease from 537 to 520. So a decrease in the amount of new listings coming on month to month. And actually, I thought this was kind of funny. Year to year, we actually had the exact same amount of new listings come on the market. So listings are staying at basically the same rate, if not less, than they have in the previous years. But then the next slide here, you'll see sales are rising. So from May 16, we had 347, rose 1.1%. For June 16 here to 351. So a small increase in sales there. And then year to year, though, is really the big increase comparing month to month. Obviously, is what we want to see. So for June 15, we had 310, up 13% to 351. So it doesn't seem like that's a lot, but really it is when the same amount of listings are on the market, and we're actually having, because we've had increased amount of sales in the months previous, there still is less inventory on the market with that continued number of sales. So that's why we measure the months of inventory, because the inventory, the amount of listings on the market are going down, which makes it more favorable to sellers because there's less competition on the market, and with the increased amount of buyers, there's not a ton of inventory for them to look at. So this is what ultimately drives prices up. Our next one here is comparing the sales by price range. So this is just from May, which is the blue, to June, which is the red. So I like to look at this to, you can kind of pinpoint why the median's higher or lower, and same with the average. So we can see we had an increased amount of sales in June in the 320 to 360 range. We also had more in the 600 plus range, but we also had less in the 360 to the 480 range. So this is what ultimately dropped our average down, because you can see all the red lines. We have more of a cluster in the lower price ranges. So that's what brought the average down. Median went up because, again, we're lining them up and picking one in the middle. So definitely a very hot market. You can see next year, this is the average residential sales price. So this isn't apartments, condos, this is solely residential. So we actually had a little bit of a decrease in the amount of residential units that were sold this month compared to last month. In May, we had 202 residential unit sales, where in June we had 194. So it went down a little bit. That's the red line on the graph here. Again, our growth over 5 years, or more than 5 years now, sorry. So since December of 2010, you can see that our R squared function, this is our linear function, so basically seeing how much growth we've had since December of 2010. We're having about 12.8% growth. So that means technically, if you bought a property for say $100,000 in June 2010, or sorry, December 2010, and you held on to it now, you would have 12.85% of appreciation. So this is all technically speaking. Of course, you have to maintain that property's value, do renovations to make sure you're still maintaining the value of the home. But generally speaking, this is the growth that you would see. And the average sales price went up just a little bit from last month. Really not much, $500 more. In May it was $387, $247, where in June it was $387, $704. So a small increase in the average sales. I think we usually see June is actually our highest month for sales, and then we see a little bit of a dip to August, September, and then obviously much more of a dip for the fall months and heading into winter. Our next graph here is number of units sold versus number of units listed, which ultimately gives us our odds of selling. So here we had an increase in the amount of sales, obviously with the decrease in the amount of new listings. So what we saw was your odds of selling rose to 19.66%, which was up month to month. May was 19.22, and year to year we saw an increase as well. A much more drastic increase. You can see on the graph, if you're comparing June to June, you can see there was much more listings on the market. So the blue bar is number of units listed, and the red bar is the number of units sold. So you can see now that red chunk is getting a lot bigger. So for June 2015, the odds to sell your house, so out of all the houses on the market, 14.64% of them sold. Year to year, June 2016, 19.66%, so up quite a bit more from last year. And finally, we'll finish off with the monthly sales by category. So again, you can see a little bit more just for the past year here. Basically, for your residential sales, again, the average prices stayed the same. You can see the growth, not the growth curve, sorry, the residential unit sales, so how many units are sold there. Townhouses, you can see that we actually had a drop in the average price, which is hard to tell, but my suggestion would be there's been a lot more sales in lower price range, which ultimately dropped the average down. Same thing in the apartment sales. And then as you can see, the manufacturer sales is off the chart there for the number of sales. We had 28 mobile home sales, but you can see that really isn't related to the average sales price because there is such a big value range in those. There can be the $25,000 trailer to the $250,000 trailer. So it really doesn't correlate. There's not a trend where you can see the trend in the residential sales. It comes up for the summer and then down based on the unit sales, and the average price similarly kind of follows. But for the manufacturer, there's really no rhyme or reason. It's kind of all over there depending when people are buying. So it's really its own market. But that's everything today. If you have any questions, if you're looking to buy or sell, I would definitely suggest now's the time. I'm predicting that we're actually going to see a little bit of drop in unit sales for July, but let's see. I think it's still going to be a very hot month. I would be surprised if it went above the trend again, but I think it will. So we'll see. I'll keep you updated. I'll post what's going on in the market. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me, Connor Shelton, 250-377-5186. I work at Remax here in Kamloops. You can reach me at email as well at cshelton@remax.net. Process, results, value, sell with Shelton. Thanks again.